Hi, everyone. It's Robert Jones. I hope you're doing well this afternoon. We had a couple of scheduled guests, and there was some misfortunate timings, and neither guest was here for this time frame. So we come here each week from 2:30 to 3:30 Arizona time. So I just wanted to reach out and really just do a little promo for some things that are coming up in the network. The first thing I really want to plug is that we have the Unchained Yourself Professional Women's Conference on July 28th from 9 to 5. 9 to 5 p.m. It's $20 to come into the door for the day, $397 if you'd like to have a table at the event. There's only 160 spaces to come to the event because it's a limited seating venue. And I'm really excited that we have Dr. Bridget McCoy. She will be our keynote speaker for this particular event. We still are looking for a panelist for this event. If you're a woman that's in the financial or in the health, coaching, public speaking, etc., anyone who is to uplift and empower women, please come to this event that's going to be coming up here on July 28th. I'm also looking for some men to come support with me, the women who are going to be at the event. We can handle the doors, we can do directions, we can answer questions, we can work the table. So I'm looking for men to work with me to do that event. And I really am supporting my wife in every way to make this the most wonderful July, the coolest month of the year here in Arizona event. We're going to be in Gilbert, Arizona. And I'm just really excited about all of us coming together to have this in-person event. I'm looking for some men to do some volunteer work with me during the day. You can go to www.ntevents.net. That's www.ntevents for more information. Also, we just got this new book cover for the book, The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Inspirational Quotes. And, one of the things I'm really proud of this is that this little badge here. And from what I understand in talking with the publisher is, you can be a best-selling author in the top 100 places, but one thing that you don't necessarily get is having a best-selling badge that says that you're #1 international bestseller. So I'm really proud of this. We're going to have a new book cover for our first book, 365 Days of Networking Quotes, and those will be coming out on Amazon. And you can get the books by going to mybook.to /Art of Connection for the first book, or mybook.to / just Art of Connection 2, the number 2, to get the second book. I also have an early bird special that is $197 for a published page. And a lot of people ask me about the published page, why do a published page? And I'll tell them the reasons I get back is 3 things. 1, you're looking for awareness for yourself or what you do. 2, you're looking to create some type of legacy, such as being in the Library of Congress. Or 3, what's really nice about being in this book is it gives, a tally mark of credibility that sometimes you may not have otherwise. So again, that's 365 Days of Transformational Quotes. That is our 3rd book in the series. We already have 600 authors from the first 2 books. Our first book created 122 first-time authors. And I remember world records. It took about 2 months to get the answer back. And I asked them, is that a record? 122 first-time authors in one book that are bestsellers in the Library of Congress? And they said, absolutely. They said, and I said, well, what does absolutely mean? And they said, well, if we had a record for that, it would probably be a record, but we don't have a record for that. So I'm going to take that as the unofficial world record for having more authors, first-time authors in one book than any book that preceded it. I also want to go to our ntevents.net. Again, that's where our Unchained Women's Professional Conference is going to be coming up on information there. But you can also get more information on our academy classes, our networking meetings, our online summit events, our radio shows, and so much more. So please check out NT Events for all of your networking and informational fun. I also want to look at some other things that we have coming up as well. We have the Art of Connection Summit coming up on September 22nd. I'm really excited about that. Last event, we had about 270 people. The event before that, we had the Art of Connection Summit. We had 301 people. So if you're looking to meet others, that is the place to do it. lastly, go ahead and like us on Facebook. You can go to iEntrepreneur Radio. I'm sorry, facebook.com/iEntrepreneur Radio, or you can, subscribe to our magazine. It's iEntrepreneurmagazine.com. Go ahead and subscribe. We just came out with our newest issue a couple of weeks ago. Really excited about it. We have Jeffrey Morris of Dreamstart Academy. He is on the cover. And well, it looks like I am really excited. So I am going to continue with the show today. I'm going to bring on our first guest that I see right now, and I have Michele Vilseck. She is in the house, and I'm going to bring her on, and I'm going to say, welcome, Michele. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing amazing. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty amazing too. I wasn't sure if I was going to be solo today, so I love that you came here to just join some fun with me. I have just been having, a really good day. I was able to go out to Queen Creek and present in that chapter. That was the original place where the whole iEntrepreneur Network started 11 years ago. And I remember the first official meeting we had, Michele. We had myself and two other people there. That was it.
Yes, so
That was it. Now, 11 years later, we have over 1,000, opportunities to meet globally and here in Arizona locally. So how far we've come in 11 years, and I'm really excited. So we've gone from networking to publishing to radio shows to academies to in-person, you know, events to global virtual events online. So I have to say it's been an amazing ride. And it's like people always ask me, it's great to be the founder. And I said, I'm not the founder, really. I'm just the birth mother of it. It's just everyone's tireless effort, putting their heart and soul into it. And that's really what makes it, matter with me. But, I am with Michele Vilseck. She's the owner and founder of Win the Food Fight. You can connect with her at hello@winthefoodfight.com. I'm going to scroll her information across here. Hopefully I have it right. Um, you can so email her at hello@winthefoodfight.com, or you can go to winthefoodfight.com. That is her website, or even call her. I mean, I got you out here, Michele, so they could give you a call right now at 317-648-2747. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, congratulations on all of your growth too. Actually, when you were sharing the two people, I think about all of my first events and how we're just barely out of that phase, really, of having two people. And I think a lot of people can relate to starting slow. And it's nice to hear whatever you see people who are already moving, like, oh yeah, of course they started with one person and two people too. So that's exciting for us. But
a long time ago, I read this book, and it was by Jeff Olson, called The Slight Edge. And when I was reading through the chapter, he was talking about things that are easy to do are also not easy to do. It's like easy putting on your shoes, but it's not easy, putting on your shoes. It's easy to make that phone call, but it's not easy to make that phone call.
yeah,
And it makes me think about, when I started the iEntrepreneur Network. And it could have been easy to say no. It could have been easy just not to show up. It could have been easy not to travel, an hour or two, and then meet with one or two people and just give up. And I think that that's what entrepreneurs do. They improvise, they overcome, they adapt, they challenge themselves, they don't defeat themselves, and they know if they're persistent and consistent, magic happens.
yeah.
And like one of the things I've always said, I love the book The E-Myth, and The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, but I always felt like he was always one hat short. You have the technician, you have the manager, and you have the owner, but I always felt like a part of the hat should have been the magician. Where is that magician who makes that magic happen? They have the connector IQ, they have the energy, they have the willingness and availability to get out there and just make wonderful happen. And that's kind of like the hat that I like to see myself in. It's not that I can like create things out of thin air. It's like I manifest things out of thin air by my thought and action. And that's what I love about you. You're a motivational speaker, you're a writer, you're a coach. You've broken a lot of barriers. You've even broken a lot of self-defeating thoughts that you may have had in your life. And I think that that's what makes you so relatable. But before we get into your business now, let's talk just a little bit about your history. What was it like growing up, and family life, and were you supported, or did you come from an environment where you had to kind of struggle through and make things happen? Tell us a little bit about those early years.
Oh, okay, cool. Nobody ever asked me that question. That's an interesting question to think about. But I think I think it's a good one because it helps us relate to one another. That I think there's this misconception that rich people are just like handed it, or entrepreneurs are just born that way or something like that. I grew up in Wyoming, of all places. I was born in Wyoming. So not anybody from Wyoming, give me a little yes in the chat, right? Right?
Right.
So not too many people. In fact, the town that we lived in when I was all growing up had 88 people. And I remember when they did the census and we made it up to 100. So that was exciting.
It must have been a great birth rate year, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So just like farm stuff. Of course, my family was just struggling and poor, married right out of high school, my mom and dad, and they had 3 kids. My grandfather and my dad are entrepreneurs. So my grandfather created a roofing business, well, several businesses, but the one that worked was the roofing business. And so they stuck with that for a while. That's what my dad did. And so all growing up, that's what I did during my summers, visiting him. After my mom and dad got divorced, we'd spend the summers out there and work on the roof. And so, if you got a leak, Robert, I'll head on over there and take care of it for you. So
Hey, you'll be my first call, Michelle. I'd just love to see you up there. Instead of fighting food, you can fight the leak, right?
yeah, that's right.
I,
So I think that really taught me hard work.
oh
You're
my
getting
gosh.
and it's like all sweaty and it's hot and it's a lot of picking up heavy objects. And it was like, I know that I don't want to be doing this the rest of my life. I want to, go get an education and come up with something a little bit different. Although it is rewarding, those hands-on things are super rewarding to like see the job well done.
Yeah, but this is something I think that it's very, very underrated, and and I have to say that I'm pretty lucky because when I grew up, I was a cabinet maker. My uncle, he owned a cabinet shop. He also built homes in the Kansas City and the Missouri area. And so every summer I got to go down there and work with him. 13 years old, and my goodness, my pay for the day might be like a hearty sandwich or like a oh, what was the other one, like a Whopper or something like that.
Yeah,
So that was it
exactly.
for the
Yeah.
day. So he, I don't know how he skirted the child labor laws back then when I was a kid. But I also, my family also had a farm in Iowa, of all places. And to me, there's something about working with the earth and working with your hands, and actually being creative and feeling and breathing in life. And so much of the time I feel like when we look at ourselves and we come through the educational system only, and we have all this learned knowledge, we don't really have the activity of motion, and feeling your pores sweat, and feeling your hands work, and feeling the soreness of also the physical things that are our body. And that's what I think is like really kind of interesting, and how the world's changed as we've gone from an agricultural society, and we're kind of gone into more of this kind of city living. Is a lot of kids nowadays, they must be entertained. But like when I grew up, it was, my entertainment was called a lot of work, and it seemed like there was always something that needed to be done. And I think it led to a lot of my consistency and my persistence in everything that I do. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you now is, with your background and having kind of an entrepreneurial spirit, and coming from a town of 88 people, do you also feel like you may have a different lens when you look out there in the entrepreneurial community and you say, my upbringing may be just a little bit different, or my passions were shaped differently, they were forged because of some of the things I did early on in my life? And how do those things affect you now?
Yeah, I think I took it for granted for a long time until my grandfather died. And I was just thinking about his life and what he did. And to be honest, he didn't have the most glamorous life that you would normally hail. He struggled with drinking, smoking, drinking pretty heavily, and kind of like the grouchy old man type. And so, whenever I was thinking back about him, though, I thought, the thing that he gave us was entrepreneurship,
Hmm.
though, and hard work, and just kind of sticking with it until you find something that works. Because out of all of his grandchildren, there's just I can't give you the number off the top of my head, but almost all of us are entrepreneurs or have tried it at some point, which I thought was really interesting. It's not what you find everywhere, but I'm super grateful for that. And, my dad really taught me how to be honest and care about what you do, that like, especially with roofing, if you've got a roof, you want your roofer to do it right. You don't, and he's like, you got to do it right, water goes this way, you got to do it right, or you're going to be back again and again and again, right? And if you do it right the first time, and you take care of anything that's messed, if there was any mistakes, you come back and you fix it for free and you do it right, then you're building a reputation that people are going to come back, they're going to refer you, that sort of thing. So I think I didn't really realize how many lessons I was learning along the way that probably prepared me. Just the lesson of investing as well. I think a lot of us
Yeah.
struggle with that. Like, and I know my husband looks at it, he has totally different upbringing. And so I'm like, I'm investing in my business, and he's like, you're putting a lot on a credit card.
But you're investing in yourself. You're
Yeah.
investing in your reputation. You're investing, putting your gifts out to the universe. I'm like, one of the things that I always feel is like we're all born with gifts. It's not like we have to go find them. We're all born with them. They're already in us. One of the things that I like to say is it's not the gifts that we have to find. It's the path that we have to find to support them, to use them, to distribute them, to transport them, to others. That's where we get kind of messed up a little bit. We get caught up
Right,
in the
right,
tripwires
yeah,
of
and
that.
especially if it's different than the path of
Mhm.
your father's too, right? Like, it could have been easy for him to
Absolutely.
go be a roofer or something, but my dad's like meat and potatoes, meat at every meal, farmer, cow farming, and I became vegan. And
Well,
it was hard. It
yeah.
was a hard transition to be like, I struggled with and I'm sure all entrepreneurs you're probably identifying with this, that like some of the things that you care about, that you're passionate about, are totally different than everybody else's, and it's kind of tricky to step into that.
And it's something else that you talk about that I like as well. You talk about struggle, and to me, one of the things I've learned in my life, and my dad taught me, he's like, knowledge is transferable. You can apply knowledge in one area and transfer it to a different area. Knowledge doesn't stay in a box. It's not like the genie that will never come out of the bottle. You can use it, left and right, up and down, in and out and stuff like that. And if you learn how to overcome struggle in one area, you can learn how to overcome struggle in other areas. You know, and that's where I kind of want to come into, really the discussion that I wanted to kind of share with you today. We do live in a world right now where it seems like, struggle is it's not just internal. Struggle is external. And it's everywhere. And one of the things that I look like is, my question, when I get up in the morning, I try to explain things to my kids, or I'm talking to my mom, or we go about the good old days. My first question I always kind of ask is like, what's going on? What is going on? And I know it's not the most dramatic question, because sometimes I really feel like just ask the simple questions, and find the simple answers where you can help others. But what I'm saying here is this whole weight thing, where our body fat is going up, the food that we eat, and we're trying to work out, and we have low self-concept, and we don't like what we see in the mirror, and we're talked about, it's okay to look a certain way, and it's okay to be a certain way, but quite frankly, there's this undercurrent that it isn't. you know you know are we doing it to ourselves, Michelle, or is there like this media effect, this personal effect, this snowballing effect that's doing it to us, or is it somewhere in the middle? Why is it so pandemic that we struggle so much with weight in our society right now?
Yeah, such a good question. I think it comes down to everything, like you're saying, that I guess two ideas. I have two ideas for you. Number one is that the society and our surroundings and everything absolutely has an effect on what we do. That's why you see like a huge number of people doing the same thing, right? So over the last 40 years, we went from being mostly normal weight to being our 70% of the American population is overweight. or obese. So obviously that's not genetics. That's hasn't been passed down for generations. It's something that we've created in the past couple of generations by the foods that we eat and the culture that we've now created, and just our access to these foods that taste delicious, and they know how to make them so that you want them, that you want to eat more,
Right.
that you maximize it. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they say there's as much science in the creation of food that we eat from the processed world as there's science in, trying to find the cure for cancer. The salts, the sugars, the balance of flavors and tastes, and then you have the preservatives and the colors and everything, and and it's created, people who binge eat, or people who feel like they need comfort food, or people, you know, and there's this constant fight. And one of the things that you and I've talked about, before, Michelle, is, if you have this constant battle, going on inside of you, in your head, how can you ever even practice self-care? How can you take care of others? How can you be a great business owner or entrepreneur, if this fight is going on in you? How do you help business owners get out of the stuck, and become unhinged, with their limiting, like, food thoughts?
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of just touched on how society
Hmm.
at large kind of creates this problem for us. I mean, there's a big shift this way. There's stress, the way you were saying earlier, that we're disconnected from nature. There's a lot of things going on. But the good news is that we're humans. And as humans, we have this amazing thing called a brain, right? We have our own brain. And just like we were talking about at the beginning, with stepping into your own path, stepping into your own power, what it requires is that you do something different than the status quo. And that takes a little bit more courage, and it takes investing in yourself. It takes finding people who have the skills to show you how to do that, just like everything else. But whenever you're willing to do that, then it's totally possible for you to step out of, whether it's stress eating or emotional eating, weight, binge eating, that there is a way out of it. And it's just a skill, which we can talk about later.
Hmm.
My opinion, and with my clients, what I've learned is it's just a skill. Or there's certain skills that we don't have, that we haven't been taught yet, about weight and weight management and how we manage our thoughts around food. But once you learn those skills and the framework, then anyone can do it, really.
Well, and I think, like, one of the things that I've seen is there is a correlation. I was watching this one show, and they were talking about the correlation between, food, the food that we eat, and the way that we eat it, and how we perceive it, think about it, how we act on it, etc. And success. And there is, and they were trying to make that the correlation is the more that people struggle with of self-concept and food and self-care, that the more they struggle with, being successful, or pursuing their success, or becoming a greater version of themselves. What is your thought on food and success?
Yeah, I think, there's that famous quote that, like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. But I think what food does is, I, I think there's kind of two different correlations. Like, one is that sometimes we get so successful in one area. Like, there's plenty of people who are super successful in athletics, in their business, in money and relationships. They're just going above and beyond. And then because we're all human and we have insecurities, then sometimes those super successful people, they'll kind of balance that out, right? Like, if you ultimately deep down feel like you're not good enough, you don't deserve this, those kind of thoughts, if you
Hmm.
haven't settled those ones, then you kind of self-sabotage. There's this amazing book called The Big Leap, where he kind of talks about there's four barriers that we kind of all struggle with, and some of us struggle with one more than the other. But whenever you're faced with success, then either you block yourself from that success and you're having trouble at the same time with food, or you like overcompensate with the food because you're so successful and you don't deserve it, you're not worthy, that you're almost like
Mhm.
pulling yourself down, because the brain's trying to make sense of, well, you're successful, but you're not worthy at the same time, and it wants to be right. So then the subconscious is like, well, we've got to fix this problem, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And that's something that you know, what's really interesting is you talk about transformation, you talk about transform, and one of the things that you look at is that's what you do with your client relationships. You try to create a space for them where they 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 may not, kind of consciously realize that they're going from the place of, discomfort and disease of their need for food to true comfort and ease with food. And I think that that's, really, a smart place to look at and do. And it's right now we have 365 days of transformational, quotes, coming out. That's our third book in the series. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, when it comes to someone who's had this food fight for many years, and sometimes it comes from internal, sometimes it could even come from parental pressure, or even peer pressure at school. What does transformation look like to them, those that you help as clients, and what does transformation look like for you when you help them? Because I'm sure there's an effect with both parties when that happens.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I think what the transformation is different than what most people think originally. Like, if you struggle with weight or if you struggle with food, then I find that most people who struggle with that, they don't really know what it means to be free. Like, they understand the hell of it all, that like, this is awful, I hate getting up in the morning, or I hate going to bed
Mhm.
at night hating myself, I hate the fact that I feel like I'm out of control, I don't like looking in the mirror, I feel disgusting. Like, you understand that hell part of it so well.
Yep.
And then, but it's hard to imagine the the paradise that's available to you. And so honestly, I spend a lot of times telling my clients, like, no, this is what's possible for you. Because a lot of us will come in and say, well, I'd really, my ideal weight would be 50 pounds less, but I'd be happy with 30, right?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna settle for 30 because it doesn't feel possible to me. Or they'll say stuff like, "Oh, I know this is something I'm gonna be struggling with my whole life." Like, "Oh, of course, you like, some people just have that problem, but I think I can get strong enough where I'll be able to conquer it most of the time," or something like that. And what
And that's tough. I'm sorry, but that's tough. I mean, that word is terrible, and I'm probably going to throw it at Donna Campbell when she comes on because that word settle. What does settle mean? I mean, I mean, does settle mean you stay sitting, or does settle mean you halfway stand? Or that is a word that I just wish we could abolish and get rid of. Who needs to settle? We weren't born to settle, were we?
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Absolutely not. And so one of the things I want to do, because we're almost already 30 minutes in, can you believe that? But I want you to talk about, maybe some either products or some services or some ways that you help your clients, overcome the the thought of food, as being an adversary and maybe being a partner in really true whole health.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. So what I love to do is what one of my coaches always says: immersion is conversion, right? Information isn't just transformation. You really have to immerse yourself in the information, because there's a lot of things that we know, but we don't really believe until we hang out with other people that are doing that thing or whatever. So what I created is what I call Win the Food Fight Live. So it's a half day event where we come together and we talk about all of these things and really get immersed in the idea that, oh my gosh, it's absolutely 100% possible for you to be whatever weight you want to be at. You're at your ideal weight. It's possible for you not to have to struggle with food anymore. Then we go through the steps of like, how do you do that without losing your mind, without like having this huge self-care routine, without micromanaging your diet or doing those crazy things that you've done before. And then during the event, also, we rewire your brain about, like, in the event, we're helping you rewire your brain and rethink and change how you're thinking about food. So it's a really amazing, an amazing event that I do it fairly regularly. The next one we've got coming up is actually this Saturday, May 21st. So you can go to winthefoodfightlive.com and register for that. And yeah, and it's just a total blast. And of course, you scrolled all my other stuff around there. I got some freebies and other things as well.
I will definitely scroll it here. One more question, and I'm going to go back to the settling. I think for so many people, we look outside so much of the time to create a benchmark for ourselves, and we feel like, well, she has something that, you know, I would like that, but then we stop ourselves, or there's a commercial that goes on, or there's a story that was said, and so much of the time, we look outside to kind of develop our inside, and I think, as I've grown older in my life, I really feel like, you develop the inside, and then your lens will start to change the way that you look, to the outside, in your life, because I know that you've had to battle some, demons, with weight in certain ways in your life. What, was there a mentor, was there a person, was there an epiphany point that changed your life, where you changed the lens and you said, you know what, I know I had this nature, I know I have this nurture, but my mind's going to, trump everything. What did that point look like? Because I think for a lot of listeners and entrepreneurs, again, that information you can also turn into transformation, if it affects them in that way. So, tell us just that little story before I go into the next segment.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. I think for me, I read a lot of books. I struggled with digestive issues for a long time before really realizing my food fight problem. And I read a lot of books and things. And for a while, I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm just doing this all on my own. I kept trying to go to mentors. Nobody knew how to help me. And I thought, oh, I'm just digging myself out of this all on my own. And then, of course, later, as I approached this problem, I realized that you've got to get in the room with other people, kind of going back to that investment thing. I was in the beginning, I was too afraid to really invest in myself. Oh, I don't have money for that right now, or I'll just do this little thing, this lesser thing. And the older I got, the more I realized I need to get in the room. So I was actually it was a $1,000 event, 3-day event that I needed to fly and get my hotel and do all the things. So it really was going to cost me about $2,000. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have money for that right now. But I really felt like I needed to get in the room. And so whenever I got there, though, there was a woman who got up on stage. This is when I was struggling with overeating. Everybody was telling me, you're going to have to do this the rest of your life. This is like a one day at a time thing. You're never going to be better. You're broken, all the things. And I was looking for somebody who had done it. And I didn't know where to look exactly, but I was at this event that I felt like I needed to be at. And this woman came up on stage and basically told me I had an addiction and now I don't. And I just learned how the brain worked. I figured it out. And the next day I was done and I never looked back. And I was like, whoa. Right.
I love it.
So powerful whenever you meet someone like that example of this is possible, kind of like what you're saying too. Like, we're looking outside. Is it possible? Has someone done this? Who can help me? And just seeing her. And
it's because because you have that connection. To me it was an internal connection. It wasn't an external thing. You knew it, you felt it, you've had those thoughts, and it's just like, that is someone that I'm identifying with. And I think that that's what it is. I always say, the fastest way to change a person's life is to change the information that they're fed, the people that we're with, and inspiration that they source from. And if you can do those three things, anything can happen, for you. Well, Michele, thank you so much. I'm going to put your information across here. I'm with Michele Vilseck. She's owner and founder of Win the Food Fight. Connect with her at hello@winthefoodfight.com, or call her at 317-648-2747. Tell us again about your event in a couple of days.
Yeah, so I do it about once a month, but the next one's coming up May 21st. It's called Win the Food Fight Live, and it's a half-day event where we'll dive in and help you feel like you can do this. This is possible. Rewire some of those steps and bust some of those myths that you have about food.
Yeah. And all I'm going to say is, don't be afraid. Don't settle, because you only got one you, and make it a great you when you do it. So, Michele, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
All right, I was with Michele Vilseck. She is owner and founder of Win the Food Fight. She has an event coming up this week. You can PM me, put a private chat, or however that works. Put a comment in there. I'll make sure that I can get you the information, or just get with me at robert@networktogether.net. You can contact her via email, hello@winthefoodfight.com, or call her 317-648-2747. I'm so glad that she was on the show today. I am so excited. I'm getting ready here for my next guest, Donna Campbell, and I am bringing her on right now. Hello, Donna. How are you?
Hello, and I am good. Thank you so much for having me back today.
Oh my goodness! Thank you so much for being back. I know last month I was looking so forward. I was like, oh my goodness, I got my
No,
Montana connection coming on, and then it's like, oh no,
I
those
know
darn
time zones
time zone
change
changes.
and in the middle between booking and yeah,
Yeah, you
and I'm on
know.
the West Coast.
Well, I love it. You're here now. Again, everyone, I'm with Donna Campbell of the Healing Heart. Connect with her at donnacampbell.com, kind of like Campbell Soup, right? Campbell Soup,
Very
Donna
much.
Campbell Soup. Or reach out to her at 208-220-4607. And Donna, I'm, I've gotten to talk with you a few times. I've gotten to see you up on stage. I say I got, and like I gotten, like I'm 12 years old. And I think I say got because it's like I'm a raving fan of yours. You have a very like radiating soul. You have a radiating passion. I love that you celebrate being a mom, being a parent, being a person of beauty, everything that gives me goosebumps, because it's the same way I feel about being a dad, about being a father, about
Mhm.
being a husband. And so much of the time as entrepreneurs, we sometimes look at ourselves with that one hat.
Mhm.
Donna's an entrepreneur, but quite frankly, that may not even be the largest hat that you wear.
Right.
I mean, that is a hat, but
Mhm.
that may not even be the largest hat. As an entrepreneur, and as really like a global rock star, in my opinion, what are some of the other hats that you wear, on a monthly basis?
Oh my goodness. Not only just running my own business and then the whole mom parenting world. I also travel around. I'm on various stages speaking all the different truths that I share, but I also am an author and I write consistently. So not just one book. I had to do five. Now I write monthly for a magazine called Best Holistic Life. And I continually receive more offers. And it's really hard to say no because when you really love what you do, it just flows, it just happens, and so you gotta make sure you maintain all of that balance with it, and then you also have your home life, your private life, and then you have to schedule time off and let people know when you're free, and otherwise you just work long work days getting
Well,
it all
and I think, because I'm not really like, I hear of life and work balance and whatnot, and for me, I call it the harmony matrix. If you're in the harmony matrix, I think that you can look at things a little bit differently, because nothing ever is balanced.
done.
That is something that I found in my life that I can never control. But what I can do is I can seek to understand, what my harmony is, and that's how I
Yes.
kind of go through my own journey. And like I was talking with Michelle, earlier, I and I would love to get your take on this, but I've always felt that every person that's ever born, at any
Mhm.
level, we're all born with gifts. Each and
We
every
are.
one of us have something to give the world, but it's our paths, that we have to seek out and
Mhm.
understand and build and bridge, to get our gifts most utilized. Would you agree with that, or are some other
Mhm.
things involved in that process?
I would completely agree with it, and that we have our gifts and our talents, and that we're meant to share them with the world. Now, how you choose to do that is
Hmm.
up to you. I think there's a misnomer, though, that when we think the word balance, everything has to be equal.
Mhm.
30% personal time, 30%, work life, 30 for, and it's not. Balance does not mean equal. There's an ebb and flow to it. So there's some days that I work and then you can take off several days. But it's maintaining, like you said, that harmony. And it creates an ebb and flow and a flow for you. I often say and ask people, would you like to hear the harmony? Because when you hear the harmony, it's this beautiful orchestra. It's like everything is just divinely timed. But if there's a wrong note, something's not in harmony, and to take a look at it. So yes, you can hear your own rhythm, your own harmony, and every person's a little bit different in that.
And that's what I think is really interesting to me. And as I've gone on my journey and I've learned about my chakras and I've learned about my
Mhm.
spiritual self, and you know it leads me to to like a higher state of being. And
Mhm.
but part of that higher state of being is actually being comfortable in that being. you know One of the things that you talk about is you help people live the life they deserve. But one of the things that I found, and maybe you found it too, is a lot of people don't even know what they deserve. And sometimes you
Mhm.
almost have to break through, you know that it's okay for them to have a little bit of proper selfishness so they can get to that point. How do you work with people who just stop themselves short of their best selves?
I usually ask them a couple of questions, and one of them is, will you stop short? Why? And how does that feel? And how does it feel if you take that next step? And we start looking for the emotional blocks that stop people from moving into their
Mhm.
greatness. Because thinking wise, it's all there, but feeling wise, it may not be. So when we understand the emotional component underneath it, we can reprogram the brain and rewire it in the subconscious to something different. So it just happens naturally, which puts you back into that harmony.
And it's one thing, and it's tough sometimes, Donna, because when I'm talking to, and especially with entrepreneurs who may not come from a religious or a spiritual or
Mhm.
a kind of like what I call the W holistic realm. you know they don't see, they don't understand, they don't actually necessarily feel yet, and so they can't get to the acting part.
Right.
But for some, you know when they start getting around other people and they start feeling what prosperity is, and they start feeling what
Mhm.
strength is, and when they start understanding what nature is, and vulnerabilities, I do start seeing them move forward. And one of the things that you have in your world that I have heard you talk about is heart-centered healing.
Yeah.
And for people who and I don't want to say stuck in mindset. I've talked to you about this before. I always say you have to have your heart set before you can work on your mindset, and then you can gain the greatest skill sets. But for those that you work with, and they're right in that intelligence area, and they're right there in that that
Mhm.
mind space area, but they haven't yet connected with that heart-centered feeling, which
Right.
drives everything else. I mean, how do you get them to cross that finish line? Do most of them just need to heal first, or do just most of them need to be aware? Because that's a question that I've always wanted to ask you, because I myself don't know how to answer it.
Right. And awareness truly is the key. And it's
Hmm.
becoming aware that you have these feelings moment by moment. And then the second step is identifying the feeling. So sometimes it takes a little bit of work for someone to understand and have awareness that you have feelings. So you'll ask a question, well, how does it feel not living your dreams? Or how does it feel now that you're in this new stage? And a common answer that I get is, it feels good.
Hmm.
Well, good. Yes, it's a feeling, but how I feel good is going to be different than how you feel good.
Right.
So I have to take them from identifying, well, it's just good, to identify really what that feeling is. So you ask even deeper questions. Well, describe to me, what does it feel like for you to feel good? if you had to tell me what that felt like to you on the inside. And sometimes if they still can't connect, you have them take a deep breath, have them close their eyes, and have them describe what's going on the inside. And then the emotion and feeling words come. So everyone can tap into their heart space and share this. It's just that we're programmed up here in the mind to say certain phrases. Hi, how are you? Oh, I'm okay.
Right.
I'm fine. Well, what does that really mean? And
Hmm.
so when you dig a little deeper and start connecting them, they understand that you're looking for feeling words or emotions, because those are the frequencies we can change. And so it's having the awareness, which there's different things that you can do to understand when you have that awareness, and the tips of breathing exercises and different things to create the awareness, and then identify. Because if we can identify what that feeling is, then we have the empowerment to change it every
You know,
single
and I love that word, the empowerment to change it. I think that that's a beautiful word.
day.
And it's really interesting to me because I'm a fan of words. I
Mhm,
really am. I am a fan of words, and each one of them has a history. Each one of them has a lineage. I mean, it's almost like 23 and Me. That's how
mhm,
I feel about words. They're a beautiful thing. And so much of the time, when we look at our words into today's society, and maybe it's social media, maybe it's a different training in school, maybe we're just not passing it down generation to generation. Words have become watered down. And you could even say, you talked about the word good. I mean, good could be terrible for someone, but someone who's never even reached the
mhm,
level of good might be the pinnacle of what their life is like then, depending on how
mhm,
they define it, right?
mhm. Yes,
You know,
absolutely. And it's the
you know.
same thing with like success and failure. What is a success
Mhm.
to someone might be a failure to someone else. And then what might be a failure is somebody else's success, because there's always a vibrational intent underneath the word.
And to me, how can you heal? And here's another question, really. How can anyone heal? How can anyone live their truth and be their success if they're
Uh-huh.
continually comparing themselves to others? Why do we tear ourselves up to do that, Donna?
Right. That's just one of our self sabotaging behaviors and patterns that we do. Originally, when we started comparing ourselves to other people, it goes way back through ancient
Mhm.
history. It was so you can learn what was best for you, what would be morally right versus what is morally wrong. It's just that over the centuries, it's gotten a lot more watered down. And now we're comparing to be in judgment instead of make ourselves better. And so those are one of the self-sabotaging blocks that happens even in the financial world. We might be, thinking rich and abundant, and you might
Yeah.
have your heart set in alignment and you feel rich and abundant. But if the very next thing that happens is, oh, you're in judgment about what something might cost, you just canceled your manifestation.
Wow.
So, in the very beginning, it was a survival technique in the subconscious brain. Today, it's not necessary because we're past that live off the land, hunt, food, water, survival state. We're now in this emotional, mental state, and it's just not needed or necessary. So, we have to be careful and cautious when we go into comparison, when we go into judgment, because it will block and cancel out what you just asked for.
And it's interesting that you say that. One of the ideas that I've had for a long time, I call it the theory of the lead feather. And
Mhm,
you know people, they practice and they have personal development, and for some of them, I say, what good is personal development if you're never going to use it? And then for and then for other people,
mhm,
I say, well, they they use their personal development, and it's like, wow, they have it all together. And that one tragic thing, that one disruption, that one failure comes in there, and like all of a sudden the electricity comes on, right? And that
mhm,
that all of a sudden that floating lead feather that's going up there goes straight down, and it hits that table, and boom, it's like everything's wrong, right? you know
mhm,
what fragile beings that we are. you know and one of the things that you do is you help kind of combat a person from going back to those states, right? I don't know if you like a pattern interrupt, or
mhm.
you change a track, or you just slap them across the face. I don't know what you do, but I'm sure I
There's
I
survivors.
yeah, no, not quite like that, but I'm sure that there's some things that you do to kind of help you know
Yes.
reformulate that? What are some of the things that you do for your clients that we
So,
can learn from?
I think Nikola Tesla said it best when he said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. And
Mhm,
we are energy beings based by
mhm,
physics, and our emotions and feelings are vibration and frequency as well. So the techniques that I use is all based on that. So if someone's in deep criticism or deep judgment, or they're in constant comparison, we can find out how it feels when they have the awareness and they recognize that that's the pattern that they are in. Well, how does it feel to be judging of? And if it's a lower negative vibration, maybe they have stress, maybe they have frustration, maybe they feel pressured to do it. Maybe it's how they were treated as a child and they didn't like it from their
mhm.
parents. So, because the parents were angry, so they knew how to be angry. So, whatever that emotional component is, we uncover that. And then it takes us into the body of where do they feel that emotional component at mostly. And then from there, we can ask and see what the originating event is of where it got stuck in the body to the event. And then the next piece is uncovering what they needed. They didn't need the parent to be angry at them, to compare, to compete, they needed something else. Usually it's love, it's nurturing, it's compassion, it might be understanding. And when they can start identifying what their needs are, then the subconscious starts reprogramming to the higher frequency. And as it reprograms, which I ask for through my mind whispering techniques,
Yeah.
then it shifts and changes in them. We revisit the event and then they realize that, oh, wait, no, I'm happy and I'm this and I'm not that. And then we go back in the body and check where it got stuck at. And usually it changes as well. And the next thing I know, they're living their life and they're like, gosh, I haven't been comparing anything in a while. There's no judgment, there's not criticism. And they're back into that harmonious flow of their natural state of being. Now, this all comes off like layers of onions, taking off all the things we don't want, and we're putting on petals of a lotus flower and all of the different virtues, those good, positive moral characteristics that we all want to live our life by. So it's a transitional process, is how I look at it and how I see it.
Well,
And
and like, and as an entrepreneur, I mean, we can apply this to our business life as well, can't we?
absolutely, because it affects everything in life.
Mhm.
So you might be comfortable, you might be well off, you might have plenty, but maybe you want to break through to go to that next layer and you're getting ready to do it, but everything you do is just not working.
Mhm.
Well, there's an emotional energy that got stuck somewhere along the way that's not letting you expand to that next level. So when we uncover it, we find it, your business will grow. You didn't change anything you did. You're just sending out the right frequency to attract back what you asked for instead of blocking it. So it works with business, it works with relationships, it works with health. There hasn't been anything I found that it doesn't work with because it's all based on vibration and frequency back to physics.
And it's so funny because when your vibration, and it's going at a certain level, I mean, and it's feeling great, really great, and all of a sudden something comes in there, and all of a sudden it stops, and you can feel your shoulders slump, you can feel your attitude change, and it's just like all of a sudden, why am I, almost being vicious? It I mean, some things, aren't they? So even Sean and I, she was talking
Mhm,
about some. She kept saying this phrase to me, Donna,
mhm,
and she kept saying this phrase, and every time she said it, just make me cringe, and
mhm,
I didn't know why. It's just like it. And then one day, it was being aware, like you said,
mhm,
and you know what it was? When I was 6 years old, my dad used to sit me down in the house at the desk and do math problems. And you know what made me so irritated with my wife is she was saying the same statement my dad did from like
mhm.
45 years
Yes,
earlier. And
yep,
I mean, that's what you're talking about.
yes,
It's peeling that away, isn't it?
yes, it is because we can release the trigger, reprogram the event when you were 6. And then when the phrase is said as an adult, it has no energetic pull to you because it's reframed. So we're reframing the
Mhm.
past memories. And when that happens, there's more focus, more clarity, and more balance in your life.
And I think for an entrepreneur, a business owner, it begins you, and it might sound terrible. You might give me a better phrase, but it creates, or it makes you more bulletproof too. You know,
Yes.
because you unstuck your stuck, right?
Mhm. Right. And the things that we vibrate at certain levels, and then we meet people who vibrate with us. And then when you raise your vibration and you feel better, the things, those triggers, if they
Mhm.
come out, have no impact on you because you're in a different frequency, even though you're around the same people. So, yes, it does in a way make you bulletproof, but that bulletproof comes from a place of divine love, from beauty, from harmony, from joy, from balance, from all of the good things we ask for.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that I know that you champion and you create, and I think this is where I was like, that's the same space that I want to be in. And how I phrase it now, Donna, is I go, we're starting to live in a world of divisiveness. It seems
Mhm.
like everything is like a divide and conquer world. And,
Yeah.
in business, it's like there's the sharks and there's the goldfish, and that's what
Mhm.
everyone wants to be. And I've always been like, I don't want to live in that world. I
Mhm.
don't want to be a shark, and I don't want to be a goldfish. And my goal is always, to create like the community of dolphins.
Mhm.
We're strong enough to have a bite, but we're also, strong enough to have, proper emotions, for
Mhm.
others, proper compassion, proper empathy, and I feel like we need a community that becomes more in the center of this universe and not these two extremes. And one thing that you do, and I love the terminology, is just creating heart minded, business owners,
Right.
or heart centered business owners.
Mhm.
Tell us what a heart centered business owner looks like to you.
Wow. Somebody who has a heart of service, somebody who wants to give. To
Hmm.
me, it's about making impacts in the world or just helping your fellow person, but also doing it through and wanting to become better yourself,
Hmm.
because it comes from that internal place. And the reason why I also say heart centeredness, my business name is called The Healing Heart. And it came to me 12, 13 years ago before I incorporated. And I saw that all healing was matter of the heart. So all healing is just a matter of the heart healing in that space. And our heart is very emotional and it's a very feeling center. So to be heart centered, it's about invoking those and those feelings and moving forward. Because if you can make one person smile in your day,
Right.
you did your job. So that's how I see it.
I love that. So we're coming on the end of the hour already. It's so amazing how fast it comes. But you know, but before we end the show and in your segment,
Mhm.
talk about, what is it like working with Donna Campbell?
Oh
Is
my
is it
god.
products? Is it services? Is it coaching? Is it, do you get the magic wand and you go woof, and all of a sudden I change? What does working with Donna Campbell look like?
Oh my goodness. That might be a better question for my assistant.
Right.
No, as a client, we just have our conversations on the phone. I tap into
Mhm.
your space and we start reprogramming. And by the end of the call, you're feeling pretty good. Um, from that point of view, versus speaking versus writing, it's a little bit different. I still have content creation. My assistant's used to me throwing her something. Can you have this done in like 3 hours for me? Because I'm done working on it now. It needs your formatting.
That's
So
great.
she's awesome. She just gets it done that way. But you just never know what's going to happen. And you just never know what's going to happen in the day. Because for me, all possibilities are there. And although I have my day to day calendar and my structure with what I do, um, we're always open to new things the universe brings to us. And like I say, you just never know. So it's creating miracles, watching them, seeing them, um, and feeling good about them.
I love that. Well, I have your name scrolling across, Donna Campbell. I'm with Donna Campbell. She's owner and founder of the Healing Heart Inc. with a C. Connect
Yeah.
with her at Donna Campbell. campbellsoup.com, like Campbell's Soup, or call her at 208-220-4607. I want to say she's an international speaker, author. She's a coach. She's a mentor modeling type of person. Let me tell you, and she also has something that's come out called the Mentor Studio. And I just wanted you to speak to that really quickly, because I think that that is an amazing place for people like us to go to share, collaborate, and grow. Tell us a little bit about the Mentor Studio.
So the Mentor Studio is a global platform. It's all about educating, enlightening, enriching, and enhancing our mentors' experience. And it's true mentoring. So people who have been in the industries before us, no matter what career path for business owners and entrepreneurs, we have mentors there, and they will teach, show you all the tricks of the trade, educate you, help you. And then, because we have hearts of service, as you learn, you share that moving forward with other people to mentor them. So it's about creating a legacy, creating the world, impacting the world that way. And it's been one of the most amazing partnerships that I do have, because it's about impacting the world and getting the right resources to the right people, and then taking it into places where they don't have access. So.
Well, Donna, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you for being a supporter of the Art of Connection book. And our next book coming out, 365 Days of Transformational Quotes. I know that we have our women's event coming up. I don't know if you've gotten to talk to Sean about that. I mean, I'd love to see you in person. I have not had the opportunity to see you in person, but Zoom's made it possible for us to meet.
It did. You're in the Phoenix area, right?
I am. Yes, we are.
1st to the 4th, I'm in Scottsdale.
Well, you know what? We're going to have to get together then. So Scottsdale's just like, Eric Swanson always tells me, it's just like right up the road. Well, again, thank you so much for being on the show today. Again, I'm with Donna Campbell. She is the owner and the founder of the Healing Heart Inc. And, great speaker, great heart, great entrepreneur, and she will help you win any fight that you may have out there. Donna, have a great afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone that's on the show, that came onto the show today. Remember, we meet here. It's that crazy Arizona time from 2:30 to 3:30. Right now, we're on the Pacific time zone, but I call it Arizona time zone. Have a great week, everyone, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
You've been watching the iEntrepreneur Show, a production of the iEntrepreneur Radio Network, with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.